Hello, I'm Antonia and this is Noel and we are from Boxtail Soup Theatre Company and we are sat here in our studio on a lovely sunny day. At least it's not quite as hot as yesterday when we were sweltering trying to get all the stuff out for Edinburgh. We have just come back, well, relatively recently, a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it, from Shanghai, where we were doing The Wind in the Willows. We were performing in a very lovely brand new art space, Showay Arts Space for families, and we were there for 2 weeks. Did I say that already? I don't even know.
I don't know. We were there for a couple of weeks. We had an absolutely fantastic time. It was a slightly unknown quantity when we went out there, as it always is when you go to a brand new venue, but obviously to go to Shanghai, it's quite a long way to travel, very unfamiliar. We didn't know anything about the space or anything before we went there. And although we've been to Beijing before, and we really enjoyed that trip as well. That was a few years back now. The thing that struck us when we were there in Beijing was that obviously there's such a big culture gap and a language gap as well, because although people are extremely kind, extremely helpful, extremely patient, and will obviously try and communicate with you, we don't speak any Chinese, and it means that potentially when you're out and about you can be quite lost or quite bewildered. Shanghai, I actually found things a little bit easier. Maybe that's partly simply because of the time difference. The people who were there to kind of liaise with us, and there was a woman called Sylvia in particular who was our kind of artist liaison, who was brilliant. Her English was fantastic, and that meant that she was able to help us out fantastically as well. And actually I found it a little bit easier to navigate as well. We were using the metro and the subway system there a lot, and that was incredibly easy.
Yeah, I mean, people go on about how London's got a great underground system, which, you know, it does. The tube is great, but this was brilliant. I mean, it's huge, because Shanghai as a city is absolutely enormous. And then I can't remember how many lines there were on the metro, but they were all, it was really easy to understand, and they're so generous because all of the signs, there was English underneath a lot of the Chinese, so you could figure it out. But even then, you know, we were matching up the characters, looking at the sort of little pictures that we'd kind of associated with our station, and it's so cheap as well. The metro, we spent 3 days in the middle. We had 3 days to ourselves, which was very lovely. And we bought a metro card for those 3 days, and it cost us the equivalent of £4.50. Yeah. And we could do as much travel on the metro as we liked during that time.
Yeah. So we have finished our penultimate day, just finished the second show. We're now at the metro because we're going to go and get a coffee somewhere. The metro in Shanghai is fantastically easy to use and incredibly cheap. I think this trip's going to cost us about 30p each, and it's just brilliant, really easy to understand and easy to use. The reason that I say that, and I sort of bring that up as kind of a first thing to mention about the trip, was that it just meant that we were very able to travel around on our own, which was absolutely brilliant. It meant that we were going to and from the theatre every day when we were performing, but in the space around that, we didn't feel like we were confined to the area where the hotel was or where the theatre was. We were easily able to go into the centre of the city and into other places. And
we started exploring right away, didn't we? And we found some lovely places to go and eat and all that sort of thing. And we managed all right with ordering our food with a bit of Google Translate and a little translator bot thing that we had. And you were doing brilliantly with little bits of Chinese. And I think by the end of the trip, Noel managed to do our full coffee order in Chinese, including a little back and forth about oat milk or something.
Yeah, I was really pleased because when we'd been to Beijing before, I tried to learn some for then. I mean, I learned enough to kind of say the odd sentence for people to go, oh, you know, well done. I couldn't really communicate. So this time I tried to really do as much as I could before we got there, and I was thrilled by the end. It's a simple little thing, but I did actually manage to have that, not just to say the order, but to have something of a conversation, and for someone not to look at me with an incredulous expression, wondering what the hell I just said. They seemed to understand, so that was great.
Well, this show went down very well. We had, I think it was 12 performances in total, and we did a kind of promotional evening in this beautiful bookshop. But the 12 shows went down very well. We did them in English, obviously. We can't do them in Chinese, but they had Chinese subtitles. and we had.
We did slow things down.
We did. We slowed them down
a lot as
significantly.
well.
So we'd already slowed it down when we were here, or we thought we had, and then when we did the dress rehearsal, the people at the theatre said, can we slow it down a little further? Which of course we did, and we understood. And part of the reason for that was that they said that sometimes there'll be adults who'll speak, you know, pretty good English, but the children will be little, so they'll want to explain the story in the gaps if they can to the children. And we definitely got some of that happening. We got to meet the audience afterwards, because one of the things that you always do, we did it in Beijing as well, is a photo call after the show. So we went out into the foyer, and honestly it's the most orderly, polite photo opportunity I've ever experienced. They have they do a proper queue system, proper line. The children will come up and they're so polite, come and sit with you and, you know, smile and say thank you, and it's all very civilised. You know, it's so much better than the kind of mobbing we often get, and it's our fault that happens in the UK, but we don't organise it well at all, whereas they had this, you know, proper system going on, which was very nice.
And they really seemed to enjoy the show, which was lovely. Because again, you're never quite sure how much of a barrier it's going to be, and there's very little you can do about it, because obviously, okay, we can slow it down to a certain extent, but it gets to a certain point where if you go any slower, you'd basically be stopped.
And it's poetic, The Wind in the Willows. We deliberately kept a lot of the poetry from the book, and so there's quite a bit of flowery language, which even in the UK for native English speakers, some of that is tricky. So, but in a, you know, I feel like there's a lot to look at with that show. There's a lot of lovely sounds. There's a lot of colourful things and puppets and, you know, all that sort of thing. And the children, they were so well behaved. I feel like they must have been enjoying it, because there wasn't very.
And you know, you could hear the
restless
laughter, and you could hear people giggling along, and you know, so it was really.
We had
really
lovely
gratifying.
comments, didn't we, afterwards?
Yeah,
so
they were so
warm,
friendly, and thankful, and really seemed to enjoy it. So we were just really pleased about that. It was a really nice experience. Actually, I think I enjoyed every show. Maybe the first one where the air conditioning wasn't quite.
Oh, it was very
figured
hot.
out. It was very
Yes.
hot. That one was a little bit of a struggle, but every other one, I really enjoyed it. The other lovely thing about the trip was that we did actually have a bit of time to explore as well, as we were saying, and I really liked what we saw of Shanghai. I thought it was a fascinating city, lots of very beautiful places.
Real juxtapositions of really modern buildings and then really traditional, beautiful. I mean, we weren't there for long enough and it's so massive. We explored just the tiniest bit. But what we did see, I really enjoyed as well. And the people were so lovely. You know, everybody, like you said, was so patient with us. People were fascinated by my hair, which was funny, especially children. I got lots of like gawping and waving, but that's very sweet. We did get a trip to Disney in there, which we'd looked at the top whatever things to do in Shanghai, and on so many of the sites it mentioned go to Disney if you enjoy a theme park, obviously, but also because it was quintessentially Chinese.
I'm really glad we did, because it was great fun, and it was also really interesting to see the differences, I guess, and to see how it was done there.
It was so the joy that we were, from the time when we queued up to get into the park, which took a little while because it was so heaving. It was only a Tuesday, but it was heaving, and so many people in costume. That's what I loved.
Yeah.
Adults, so many adults, little children obviously as well, but so many adults all dressed up, and I thought this is brilliant. You know, they're all really getting involved in the whole day, and we went on all of the rides, but there were a lot of people who you know, when we were chatting to some of the people at the theatre who go regularly, I think they go more to go and look at everything and take photographs with the characters and wearing costumes themselves and doing all that sort of thing. So it was fascinating.
Yeah. And then we also got to go and see, you know, things like the amazing yew gardens in the centre of the city. Xianzifang, which was the kind of the, I don't know how you would describe it.
It was like a Chinese version of the lanes in Brighton.
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of. It's lots of little narrow, you could only get people down, pedestrianised, that's what I'm trying to say, streets with little shops and restaurants and things there.
Visited the was it the Jade Temple?
Yes.
Jade Buddha Temple.
Yeah.
You know, so it was really amazing to see, and like you say, the juxtaposition from going from somewhere like the Shanghai Tower, which we went up, I think on our first day.
Yes.
Which is this incredible skyscraper with this amazing view, and then you'll walk 5 minutes away and see this ancient temple, and they are very much kind of sat next to each other. I guess maybe you sort of get used to that in some
Well, we get used to that
cities
at home, don't we?
yeah,
In London or Edinburgh.
it was just a slightly culturally different thing, so to see it in a different context, it really struck me, putting them together.
I think that's quite enough waffling about Shanghai too, but we did have a really lovely time, and obviously we'll have interspersed some footage from being there, so you'll see what we did. We're now working on Edinburgh, so we've got 2 shows there this year. We're doing Casting the Runes and Gulliver's Travels back to back in Pleasance above. The Casting the Runes is at 11:35 and Gulliver's Travels is at 1 o'clock. We're really looking forward to taking both shows back to the festival, and it's going to be interesting doing them one after the other.
Yeah.
You know, tiring obviously, but also both of us were saying just the other day how much we're looking forward to it. They're very different shows, and we wouldn't want to do them the other way around. They just would feel really weird.
That's the right way around to do it.
But the idea of doing Casting the Runes, which sort of takes you on a kind of roller coaster and spits you out at the end, and then to go into Gulliver, which starts off with a shipwreck, makes sense and sort of feels like a nice transition from one to the other. So we've got to work out how we dismantle the set between the two and make sure the changeover is nice and smooth.
Yeah.
But I think we've got ideas. I think we're going to be, hopefully, we'll be all right with that. And at least we're only kind of fighting against ourselves. So.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Tickets for those are on sale now, and they've already started moving. People are already buying tickets.
Yes, lots of people have already booked, which is just, again...
It's so nice, isn't it? Just to know. I think it's that moment when you look at it and go, there are people coming to... I don't know whether we're there yet, but there's people coming to every one of the shows.
Last time I looked, not quite, but I did look a little while ago. I try and stop myself from looking all the time because it gets a bit obsessive. But
so anyway, if you have booked already, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And if not, like we say, they're on sale now. So do go and have a look. We're going to get back to rehearsing and preparing for that, because that's kind of the next big thing that we're up to.
As always, if you are enjoying the vlogs, please do give us a thumbs up, leave us any comments, questions, whatever, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you next time.